During the bombing raids, World War II, many children were left orphaned. You can imagine. They were left on the streets. No food, no comfort, no shelter, no one to care for them. Some of the fortunate ones were brought into shelters designed for the children, but not all of them. Some of the children were lucky. And one of the things that was noticed is that these children who were brought into the shelters did not sleep at night. They couldn't sleep, even though they had a bed, they had eaten, they couldn't sleep. So folks were trying to figure this out. How do we help them sleep? Is it the trauma? What is it? Someone came up with an idea. Give each child a piece of bread at night to hold on to and see what happens. Each child was given a piece of bread, and guess what? They slept. Why? A piece of bread? Because holding on to that piece of bread reminded them, it was tangible, something tangible that reminded them, I ate today, tomorrow I will eat again. Holding bread. Look, candles, the greenery, the liturgy. This morning, this is our tangible reminder, church, that God is faithful. That God has been faithful in the past. God is faithful today. And God will be faithful tomorrow. This is our bread for today. God is faithful. God is not late. God is not early. God is right on time. And God will make a way out of no way. God is faithful. That is what Advent reminds us of, that God made a promise. And God will fulfill that promise to us. And God promises each and every one of us, I will not leave you, nor will I forsake you. God is faithful, no matter what we are going through in life, through the joys and the pain, through the celebrations and the grief, the mountains, the valleys. God is faithful. God is faithful. God experiences and suffers this life with us. God celebrates with us. God rejoices with us, and God grieves with us. And God loves us unconditionally through it all. God is faithful. We hear it in Isaiah. All the joy that rings forth out of Isaiah this morning. We need to lift that passage up very loud and maybe add some instruments to it, right? God is my salvation. I will trust in God. Isaiah, an exile. Someone who suffered, a community who suffered. They know the joy of God because they know that God is faithful. God has been faithful in the past. God is faithful now, and God will be faithful in the future. God is faithful. We can trust God, Isaiah says. I will trust you. John the Baptist warns us this morning, lets us know that Our response or our invitation to God's faithfulness is simply to love the neighbor, the stranger, to love the poor, to care for the most vulnerable people in society. John says God is faithful. Now this is how we respond to God's faithfulness. God is faithful. Let us sit with that for a moment. That we are never alone. That God can't love us any more or any less, no matter what. We are children of the living God. God is faithful. And Dave, I don't know about you, but I'm hard-headed. I'm not saying you are. But I need tangible reminders from time to time. I don't know if I shared the story of when we moved to Hawaii. If I have, I'll share it again. And that will be it. It was the most terrifying experience I've ever had in my life. Now, I know no one's going to feel sorry for me today. If that's it, Joe, I'm sorry, bro. You moved to Hawaii, I'm not going to feel sorry for you. But I was so afraid. We were uprooting in New York, out of New York City, a place I'd lived for years and years, a place where my wife was born and raised, and we had our 1-year-old, and I don't know why I had the crazy idea of moving. We moved. We woke up that morning, and I was so afraid. We had all our bags packed. Someone was going to pick us up at the airport. I think I had maybe an hour of sleep. Crystal had maybe an hour of sleep, and of course Solomon got all of his sleep. He always gets his sleep. And we were running late. You know the whole story. You know how it goes. Running late, and Hennigan Kearns, one of the members of FCC, picked us up, and he was going to take us to JFK, and I'm beyond afraid now. I'm just like in auto mode, like we got to do this, we got to go. And so we threw everything in the truck, in the car, whatever it was, and we went to the airport. And if you've ever been to JFK, I don't have to say anything else. So we get out at JFK, and I go through the front door, and there's just look like thousands of people, right? And here we are, 1-year-old, 6 bags, we're gone. Like we're not coming back, right? Well, maybe, but not anytime soon. And so as soon as I walked through the front door, my friend Bill Clark, who worked for Hawaiian Airlines, he did not know we were moving that day. I hadn't talked to him like a month. He knew we were moving, but he just happened to be walking by. Joe, what are y'all doing? Oh, today's the day. And he saw the look in my eye. I'm like, yeah, today's the day. He's like, Joe, I got you. So he took us up to the front desk, and he passed all 6 bags. They took them all. Didn't charge us anything. Don't say anything. They charged us for our regular bags and nothing extra. Everything passed. They took it all. Then he put his hand on my shoulder, and he took us to TSA. And if you've ever seen TSA at JFK, the line was like this, like a snake, looked like 100 and 200 people. He took us around TSA. If you were in that line, I'm sorry. Took us around. I just waved over. Took us around to another area of TSA, and we went right through. They checked us out, and we went right through. All that took about 20 minutes, tops. Took us right to the gate. Then he got on the phone. He called everybody where we were going to be stopping. I think we had 2 stops to make. Every stop we made, there was someone waiting on us when we got out. Medlin family, I got you. Y'all got everything you need? Come here. I'm going to show you where your gate is. Y'all need something to eat? We got a little time. Walked us to the next gate. We got on the airplane. They welcomed us. Medlin family, let me show you to your seat, and we'll sit you down. Next stop, same thing, till we finally flew into Hawaii and were greeted in Hawaii. And man, I needed that on that day. That's exactly, I don't know about Crystal, but that is exactly what I needed on that day. Just a tangible reminder that as crazy as it was that we were moving to Hawaii, God was still with us. That we were not alone. That God, no matter what, was going to keep taking care of us and loving us. That God is faithful. And I needed that reminder, and I continue to need those reminders. And I imagine that there are days when you too need those reminders that God is faithful and loving you unconditionally, caring for you, is as close as your very breath. God is faithful.